what drives our vehicles forward and heats our rooms in cold winters. What keeps the huge factories running ceaselessly at high speeds? It all depends on energy. Today, we will take you into a new field to reveal how energy is driving the rapid development of China's economy and the challenges that must be overcome to keep the wheels of the country turning under pressure for the ever greater need for environmental protection. The Gobi Desert in northwest China. A group of engineers are searching for the enormous energy buried beneath the desert sand. Yuan Heshang is a veteran blasting engineer with 37 years of experience. Today, he and his team will use 1,418 tons of explosives to blow to smithereens a 38-meter thick layer of rock in an area the size of 5 football fields. At the same time, they must make sure that what goes up comes down in all the right places. The charges cannot be set off simultaneously, which would result in destructive seismic waves.
我们是这么大的破区是500多孔，一次性起波痕可能这个几个地方了啊，周围的房子肯定给油塌了。
The solution is to detonate the explosives in batches. There are 781 blasting holes, divided into 12 groups. Each group will be detonated less than 1/100th of a second after the previous group. To make this work, the blasting team needs electronic detonators. With an encoder, the operator can accurately control the ignition of thousands of electronic detonators in milliseconds. The blasting interval is set to 8 milliseconds. The blast time is set for just after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The Chinese have invested billions of dollars to build facilities in this arid inland area beside the desert to produce this. The coal found here is of superior quality. While having a very high heat value, it contains less sulfur and is therefore less damaging to the environment. Today, coal is still the main energy that drives more than half of China's economy. This is one of the open cast mines operating in China. The coal is of quality, and the seams are very thick. Coal seams of over 15 meters in thickness are regarded as super high seams across the world, and the seams here are up to 30 meters thick. Of course, in order to mine this precious coal, the upper layer of rock needs to be removed. Before receiving the formal command of detonation, the blasting team has carried out the final checks on their electronic detonators through an encoder. By 4 p.m., the billions of dollars worth of equipment in the mining area have already been moved to safety.
好的。对，开始起飞吧。好的。8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，起飞。
As usual, Yuan goes on his own to the blasting area to check on the results. It seems Yuan is quite satisfied with the result of today's blasting. After removing the gravel, a new coal seam reveals itself. Half an hour later, the smoke is cleared and the mining operations resume. The daily output of coal from this man-made canyon is over 100,000 tons. It could generate enough power to supply one modern family for 10,000 years. But it's just 1% of the daily output of China. Coal occupies the primary position in China's energy structure. Because of that, it is particularly important to use coal efficiently. One of the most efficient ways is to build large power plants near to the coal fields. This reduces transportation costs and keeps pollution to the remote areas far from the cities. The west of China has a substantial coal reserves, but it is very short of water, and that is a big issue when it comes to cooling these power plants. Zheng Wenlong, head of maintenance, is going to carry out a special project today. To build a thermal power plant in a desert was impossible in the past, because a traditional thermal power plant needs so much water for cooling. The boiler cannot operate without it. However, China has begun to build large thermal power plants in the desert because it has found a solution. The secret lies in these passive cooling towers, which do not use water. As the hot air rises from the top of the tower, cooler air is drawn in at its base over an array of radiators. Zheng Wenlong's job is to keep the radiators clean. He has to clean nearly 1 million square meters of radiators with the least amount of water he can. To achieve a better cooling effect, the 132 radiators are distributed in a V shape. As this type of passive cooling tower does not directly need large quantities of water, it is possible to build them in the desert. The east of China is home to just under 70% of the country's population and over 80% of its economy. However, most of the new energy resources are in the west, thousands of kilometers away. The energy transportation has been a problem for the country for quite a long time. China plans to build more large power plants around the coal fields of western China, convert coal into electricity, and then let the power grid carry it to the east. It is the largest energy transmission project in human history. Today, the project begins a new phase, the installation of the conductors. At the foot of pylon number 323, the linesmen are getting ready to join the conductors high up in the air. This is the world's longest and highest voltage power transmission line. It starts in the Zhongar Basin in the far west of China and runs for 3,324 kilometers across deserts, mountains, canyons to the densely populated east. In 8 years, China has built more than 30,000 kilometers of high voltage lines to establish the world's largest energy transmission network. To increase the system's efficiency, the voltage needs to be raised. The 1.1 megavolt high voltage line is the highest in the world at present. It can transmit the energy generated by 80,000 tons of coal over a distance of 3,000 kilometers in a day. To ensure the transmission runs smoothly and efficiently, the 20,000 conductor joints have to be connected perfectly. The cables are connected by intense pressure. First, the outer aluminum wires are stripped back to expose the steel core. Then the two ends of steel core are inserted into a metal sleeve. A hydraulic clamp presses hard on the sleeve to hold the two sections of steel cable firmly together. After the steel core is joined, a larger sleeve is used to connect the outer aluminum wires. The procedure seems simple enough, but it's quite another thing to do it 100 meters up in the air with everything swaying in the breeze. The workers need to hold two ends of the cables carefully and avoid damaging the conductors while dealing with the 5-ton tensile drag on the cable. To manage this, they must use a special cable clamp. The job not only requires concentration, but also a head for heights. It will take 6 months to complete the new 3,324-kilometer line. And this is just the beginning. Several more are being planned to follow. Early November, a deep-sea engineering vessel is anchored off the coast of South China. The sea is calm, but Captain Jin Ruijian is not. He needs a storm, and he has already been waiting for 3 days. The new ship has been built at a cost of $200 million. The waters around China are greatly affected by the Western Pacific Ocean currents. These prevent divers from conducting deep-sea seabed operations. This ship has been built to deal with that challenge. Thus, to test the new ship's ability to work in rough sea conditions, Captain Jin's crew must wait for some strong waves. Historically, it has been very difficult for China to develop deep-sea oil and natural gas resources. Hopefully this will change if this new ship tests successfully. It depends on whether the advanced equipment on board function as intended. The expected wind and waves do not arrive. Captain Jin has to look for another storm.
按这个气象图看的话，今天到明天是温力的话4到5级，1.5米到2米的浪高，不太理想。我们需要2.5米左右的浪高来做试验。
The latest weather forecast leads the captain and the navigator to choose a new test area. After a night's sailing, the ship reaches its destination. As the sea gets up, the test commences. The key requirement for accurate underwater operations is that the equipment is stably maneuvered. 30 minutes later, the temperature-controlled concrete arrives on site.
我们在这个仓严禁在雨天浇筑，力保这个仓在今天下午2点到3点之中能够收仓，这样就保证我们这个混凝土能够不在雨天浇筑，切实保证我们混凝土和建基面的一个结合质量。
The heat generated as the concrete sets is the main cause of cracking. As the concrete has almost no malleability, and the internal and external cooling speeds are different, this uneven thermal distribution is what can lead to cracks. To build a seamless dam, the key is to achieve precise temperature control during the continuous casting process.
搞的时候啊，把这个地方冻住，知道吧？不让它动了，行吧？基岩面一定要保证，可以吧？
Young has made a timely decision and has successfully avoided the bad weather. When the plant is completed, the mighty river waters will be harnessed to the grid. However, rich water resources are not found everywhere. The town of Dalingha in the west of China is short of water, but has plenty of sunshine. The power of the sunlight and the number of hours the sun shines makes it an ideal site for solar arrays. The maintenance engineers have to get to work early in the day.
你把那个130、131发个预锥，我看它能不能起来。
The key components of the array are these mirrors. When sun rises over the Gobi Desert at 7 in the morning, more than 20,000 mirrors bounce the light with great precision to the top of a tower. The heat generated there is absorbed by molten salt, which takes the heat down into the plant, where water is heated into steam, which drives the turbines to generate electricity. This way of generating electricity does not consume any fuel or discharge any emissions. It is an ideal way of utilizing solar energy. There is one catch, though. The sun keeps changing its position. If the alignment of the mirrors is slightly off, there will not be enough energy to heat the salt atop the tower sufficiently. To solve this problem, China has developed a precise sunlight tracking system for this tower type of photothermal power plant. Controlled by a computer, the 20,000 mirrors reflect the sunlight to the top of the tower with unerring accuracy. The conditions of the region lend themselves to solar power general. But there's more than one ways to turn rays into volts. Not far away, another solar power plant, 10 times of its size, is under construction. It is a trough-type photothermal power plant. Unlike the tower
通过这个进灶以后，我们把每一个欧陆槽连成一个整体，我们就保证这个同步转动，左右高低差不能超过1毫米。
The area of each parabolic trough is 69 square meters. After installation is completed, the mirrors will be aligned to within less than 1 millimeter. This plant will have 9,120 solar troughs generating 50,000 kilowatts per hour. China's currently installed solar power capacity exceeds 70 million kilowatts, accounting for 1/5 of the world's solar generation capacity. More and more ways to utilize solar energy will revolutionize China's supply of clean energy. Its rapid development shows China's genuine determination to change its energy structure. But there are other emission-free energy sources to be tapped into. China is one of the nations that have taken the lead in seeking renewable energy from the wind. Giant turbines are a common feature of the landscape in many locations. Wind energy is often harvested more reliably at sea, but the harsh environment has posed serious challenges to the installation and maintenance of the turbines. Previously, wind turbine generators were assembled on land and then ferried to their operating sites by semi-submersible vessels for final erection. The process was costly, slow, and resource-intensive. Today, offshore wind is looking more and more like the future of wind power. Breakthroughs in installation technology will greatly reduce the cost. On the eastern coast of China, one of these new installation methods is still being trialed. To ensure tomorrow's trial runs smoothly, Operations Director Lu Pengyuan is working late checking all the equipment.
你这个，我问你一下，你这个纤维是机械纤维还是基础器啊？基础
是机械的。
机械是哪个地方？我知道，这不知道了吗？这个不是你把那个找的哪个地方是那边嘛，就让他们换一个调过来就可以知道了。
The new method depends on this newly developed engineers have finished tweaking their setup. The following day, the crucial test will begin at 7 in the morning.
左转，左边再来一点。
2 hours later, a 50-meter-long, 20-ton blade is lifted to the hub. Now comes the tricky part. The crew needs to marry the blade's fastening bolts to the rotor hub, 100 meters up in the air, where the slightest breeze can push everything out of alignment. This is when the new clamping system comes into its own. It allows the operator precise control over the blade's position. and connect it to the hub with pinpoint accuracy. Three hours later, the rotor blade is successfully installed. This new method of installation will dramatically reduce installation costs and put new wind in the sails of the offshore power generation industry. In China, the progress of science and technology drives energy development, and a mixed-source energy policy is the outcome. On a remote peninsula in eastern China, the most advanced nuclear power unit in the world is being prepared to be put into operation. The engineers test This 10-meter deep pool and the reaction chamber next to it are at the business end of things.
这次我们可以近距离接触它，以后估计没有机会再这么近距离的接触它了。以后因为它带有放射性。
In due course, it's long been ready in the fuel bin. Before loading, they are stored at the highest level of security. More than 100 fuel units, sufficient to drive the plant, are already in the fuel bin. Below this floor lies stockpiled the most powerful energy source mankind has yet been able to harness properly. Its energy density is 2.5 million times that of coal.
马上要装料了，我们今天做一个装料前的模拟演练。
Nuclear plants run on nuclear fission, the energy released by splitting atomic particles. The energy released is extremely powerful, but it also creates dangerous radioactive waste. The sun, by contrast, generates energy through nuclear fusion, with none of this radioactive waste. Scientists have long dreamed of being able to emulate this. On July 5, 2017, Chinese scientists released a 100 seconds of video which amazed the world scientific community. The video shows an experiment in which Chinese researchers managed to achieve a temperature of 50 million degrees, sufficient to overcome the barriers to fusion reaction. But no known material on the Earth can handle even 1/10,000th of such a temperature. What kind of vessel could contain such a high temperature reaction? The answer is a magnetic field. The coil enters a superconducting state at low temperatures, producing the strongest magnetic field on the Earth. In this can float the materials for a fusion reaction suspended in the air.
这是我们正在加工制造的超导磁体，到时候超导线穿就会在这里面，会冷到零下269度，在那里将是自然界中最高的温度，上亿度的胆离子体。所以在这个非常狭隘的这个空间里面，对这个装置的建造来说是非常非常的困难。